He'd come to value Bruno's profound knowledge of the people of the commune of Saint-Denis, developed in part through years as an active member of the local tennis, rugby and hunting clubs. He accepted Bruno's idiosyncratic way of doing his job and recognized Bruno's role in ensuring that Saint-Denis had the lowest rate of reported crimes in the département of the Dordogne. Bruno, in return, respected JJ as a relentless detective with a deceptively subtle way of navigating the politics of policing in France. Whatever the radio might be reporting, JJ was old enough and experienced enough to take care of himself. If he needed Bruno's help, he knew he would only have to ask. Bruno planned this morning to go first to the riding school of his British friend Pamela to exercise his horse, Hector, before heading for his office in the mairie. Perhaps on horseback he'd get some inspiration for a speech he had to give at a wedding at the end of the week. And perhaps I should think about getting some new clothes, Bruno thought, as he scanned his wardrobe with the forthcoming event in mind. 2/3 of the hanging space was occupied by his official dress. There were police uniforms for summer and for winter, plus a full-dress parade uniform and an overcoat. At the back of the cupboard was a separate plastic bag holding his French Army Reserve uniform with its sergeant's chevrons, in which he was required to report if summoned back to duty. Hanging in the utility room, where he kept the washing machine and the secure cabinet with his guns, were a set of military camouflage that he used for hunting, and the old army tracksuit he'd just taken off to air after his morning jog. Bruno had few civilian clothes. There was a dark blue wool suit he'd bought when invalided out of the French army after taking a sniper's bullet in his hip during a tour of duty in Bosnia. He'd long since lost the extra kilos he'd gained during his months-long hospital stay, and, while convalescing, so it hung loosely on him these days. A dark blue blazer and a pair of grey slacks shared a wooden coat hanger. Khaki chinos hung with the dark red jacket that he wore over his uniform shirt and trousers when he wanted to look plausibly civilian. Its equivalent in black was kept in his official van. A pair of jeans was folded on the top shelf with his polo shirts, sweaters, his police kepi, and a blue UN peacekeeper's helmet that he kept for sentimental reasons, despite its dents and scrapes. Anyone could take one glance at my wardrobe, he mused, and tell the story of my life. The army, and then the police, all the signs of a man more at home in uniform than in civilian dress. His modest collection of clothes suggested a man who was careful with his money, seeing no need to spend much on new garments when the French services took care of most of his needs. His dark suit was timeless, of a classic cut, paying no regard to the whims of fashion that dictated that this year trousers should be tight and ties and lapels narrow. He knew this was a sparse wardrobe, even for a country policeman. I am a man, he thought, of little imagination and less style. Or perhaps I simply have other priorities. Bruno disliked shopping for clothes, although he could spend many hours happily perusing hunting magazines for a new shotgun that he could not afford, or a new rod for when he went fishing with the Baron. The good thing about weddings, he thought, was that people usually had eyes only for the bride. Nobody would care what he was wearing. The dark blue suit would do fine. The ceremony was to take place in the mairie, followed by a reception and dinner for close friends at the National Museum of Prehistory in Les Aisies. The gallery of flints, with its life-size models of early humans wearing skins and holding spears, might be considered an unusual place to choose. Bruno thought it very suitable, since bride and groom were professional archaeologists of renown. Clotilde, the bride, was the museum's senior curator, and her husband-to-be, Horst, after retiring from his university post in Germany, had joined the museum as an adjunct professor responsible for archaeological digs. Most of the guests were in the same profession. Idly, Bruno wondered if they might offer the fashionable Paleolithic diet of nuts and berries, fruit and charred meats, instead of the more traditional wedding feast. No, he concluded, Horst might be amused by such a